Middle of the night, when we could logically expect even gun runners to be tucked into bed dreaming of mayhem, they were all up, waiting for you. Lovely. Lon No looked down at his desk, where Strike Team Alpha's reports took up most of the surface, and frowned. As the first human warden, he'd been tapped to command the 6 newly formed strike teams, although, with the teams having been structured for independent operations, his job seemed heavily weighted toward translating the actions of the younger races, under his nominal leadership, to the elder races, who made up the bulk of the Justice Department. Torin wondered if they'd given him a choice. "You're certain you didn't trip a sensor?" "They left no security in orbit. The ship was inert, and Alamber swears it was clear dirtside." "So either they were more alert than you believe, or someone warned them you were coming. I don't like that word. Someone. A few gun runners trying to turn a profit on death and destruction. Means and motive are clear. Throw in too many someones and the conspiracy theorists come out of the ductwork." "It might not be that complicated," Torin offered. "Humans first?" He rearranged the reports, files flashing across the desk. "Resk makes a good point about the dozen crates. Human involvement, however, doesn't necessarily mean humans first. You captured most of the core group, and we've had no indication." His lip curled. No indication was warden speak for nothing to bring them in on yet. No indication that the new membership is doing anything other than recruiting and issuing the occasional manifesto, reminding us all that humans died in the Elder Race's war. Ignoring that Taken and Cray died as well, Torin added silently. "And we deserve more than we're getting." They removed the apostrophe. Torin had been willing to take them down for calling themselves humans first. But the Justice Department had waited until rhetoric had turned to action, waiting until humans first had swarmed stations, killed those who stood in their way, and stolen ships with Susumi capabilities before sending her team in. A dark brow rose. "Your point?" "They've gotten smarter, and they weren't happy about Richard Varga dying in rehab." Back when Richard Varga had taken control of humans first, he'd fed the self-entitlement of a few discontented speciesists and built them into a movement. The bulk of his recruiting aimed at veterans damaged in service. Humans First under Varga had been too busy whining about how it wasn't fair to organize more than random violence. Humans First, after Varga, had found a focus. "No one was happy about Varga dying in rehab," No pointed out, as though he'd followed her thoughts to the same conclusion. "His death pulled the scattered remnants of the cause together and gave them a piece of grit to recruit around. If he'd lived, they'd have died out before he finished his program. Justice ruled his death natural causes." No met her gaze and held it. "The investigations didn't find enough evidence to rule otherwise." Which meant only that they hadn't found enough evidence to rule. Nothing she could do, nothing any of them could do, but wait until humans first crossed the line again. "So just for fun." He leaned back in his chair, fingers linked on the edge of the desk. "Let's say humans first tipped your gun runners off. How did they know your team was on the way in?" "Scooped our signal." Resk and Alamber could make codes sit up and beg. They were good, better than good, but they weren't unique. If they're rebuilding, they'll want to keep as much of an eye on us as we do on them. "Possible." And Torin had to consciously relax her jaw to get the words out. "There's always the chance that one or more of the humans in the Justice Department is sympathetic to the cause." He stared at her for a long moment. "Not possible. The department runs extensive background checks on every employee." "Yes, sir." Commander No hadn't been core. His rank might as well have been supervisor or project manager, but he'd learned to interpret the variations of that response faster than many officers ever managed. "I won't be able to convince my superiors to have the behavior of every human on this station examined for suspicious activity. The violations of privacy alone." He rubbed his temples. Your gun...
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.